Picture this, you're 25 years old. You just got your first real paycheck. It feels incredible. You've been dreaming about this moment for years, but then, before you know it, the money's gone. Rent, food, that weekend trip with friends, the new phone you convinced yourself you needed. And you're left wondering, where did it all go? If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Studies show that nearly 60% of young adults in their 20s have less than $1,000 in savings. But here's the thing that nobody tells you. Your 20s aren't just about surviving financially. They're about setting yourself up for the next 50 years of your life. Today, we're going to break down exactly how to manage your money in your 20s. Not with complex financial jargon, but with real, actionable strategies that can change your entire financial future. This is how to build wealth when you're young. Let's start with something most financial advisors won't tell you up front. Your 20s are financially brutal, and that's okay. You're probably earning the lowest salary you'll ever make in your career. You're paying off student loans. You're trying to build a life from scratch. Maybe you're moving to a new city, buying furniture, building a professional wardrobe. The expenses are endless, and the income, well, it's limited. Sarah, a graphic designer from Seattle, put it perfectly when she said, "I graduated with $40,000 in debt, got a job paying $35,000 a year, and was expected to somehow save for retirement, build an emergency fund, and still have a life." It felt impossible. And she's right. It does feel impossible. But here's what Sarah didn't realize at first, and what most people in their 20s miss. It's not about how much you make. It's about what you do with what you have. The difference between someone who retires comfortably and someone who works until 70 often comes down to decisions made in their 20s. Not because of how much they earned, but because of the habits they built. Think about compound interest for a second. If you invest $100 a month starting at age 25, by the time you're 65, assuming an average return of 7%, you'll have around $260,000. But if you wait until you're 35 to start, that same $100 per month only grows to about $120,000. You've cut your retirement fund in half just by waiting 10 years. Your 20s are your financial foundation. What you build now determines everything that comes after. So where do you start? With a framework. And the simplest, most effective one is the 50-30-20 rule. Here's how it works. 50% of your after-tax income goes to needs. 30% goes to wants. 20% goes to savings and debt repayment. Let's break this down with a real example. Say you're making $3,000 a month after taxes. Needs, 50%, it's $1,500. This is your rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, minimum loan payments. These are the things you absolutely cannot live without. Now, here's where most people mess up. They inflate their needs. That luxury apartment in the trendy neighborhood? That's probably a want disguised as a need. The basic apartment that's safe and functional? That's a need. Wants, 30%. It's a $900. This is everything else. Dining out, entertainment, hobbies, vacations, that streaming service collection you've been building. This is your quality of life money. And yes, you deserve it. Your 20s shouldn't be about deprivation, but they should be about balance. And the last is savings and debt repayment. 20%, it's a $600. This is your future. This is the money that's going to give you options later in life. Half of this should go to building an emergency fund. The other half? Retirement accounts and paying down high-interest debt. Now, I know what you're thinking. 20%? I can barely afford my rent. And if that's you, start smaller. Start with 10%. Start with 5%. The percentage isn't as important as the habit, because once you build the habit of paying yourself first, increasing that percentage becomes natural. Let's talk about something that sounds boring but is absolutely critical: the emergency fund. Life happens. Your car breaks down, you lose your job, you have a medical emergency, and when these things happen, they don't wait for you to be financially ready. Here's a statistic that should terrify you. Nearly 40% of Americans can't cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing money or selling something. That means 4 out of 10 people are one bad day away from debt. Your emergency fund is your shield against this reality. The goal is simple: save 3 to 6 months of living expenses. I know that sounds like a massive number. If your monthly expenses are $2,000, 6 months is $12,000. That feels impossible when you're starting from zero. So don't think about the end goal. Think about the first step. Start with $1,000. That's your first milestone. $1,000 will cover most small emergencies. A car repair, a medical copay, a last-minute flight home. Once you hit 1,000, aim for 1 month of expenses, then 3 months, then 6. And here's the key: keep this money separate. Not in your checking account where you'll be tempted to spend it. Put it in a high-yield savings account. Somewhere that's accessible if you need it, but not so accessible that you'll dip into it for non-emergencies. Jennifer, a software developer from Boston, learned this lesson the hard way. She had about $800 saved up, but it was just sitting in her checking account. Over the course of a few months, it slowly disappeared. A concert here, a nice dinner there. Small purchases that seemed harmless. When her laptop died and she needed to replace it for work, she had nothing. She ended up on a credit card, paying 20% interest. The emergency fund isn't just money. It's peace of mind. It's the ability to handle life's curveballs without derailing your entire financial life. Now let's address the elephant in the room for most people in their 20s: debt. Student loans, credit cards, car payments, personal loans. For many young adults, debt isn't just a part of life. The average student loan borrower in their 20s owes around $30,000. Add credit card debt and car loans to that, and you're looking at a mountain that feels impossible to climb. But here's what you need to understand. Not all debt is created equal. There's good debt and bad debt. Good debt is an investment in your future. A student loan that helped you get a degree that increased your earning potential? That can be good debt, as long as it's managed properly. A mortgage on a home that appreciates in value? Generally good debt. Bad debt is everything that drains your wealth. Credit card debt with 20% interest rates. A car loan on a vehicle that loses half its value in 3 years. Personal loans for vacations or clothes or things you didn't really need. The strategy for dealing with debt is straightforward. Attack high-interest debt aggressively while maintaining minimums on everything else. Here's how this works in practice. Let's say you have 3 debts. Credit card, $5,000 at 20% interest, minimum payment, $100. Student loan, $20,000 at 8% interest, minimum payment, $200. Car loan, $10,000 at 9% interest, minimum payment, $250. Your total minimum payments are $550. If you have an extra $100 to put toward debt each month, it all goes to that credit card, not split evenly. All of it. Because that 20% interest is destroying you. This is called the avalanche method. You attack the highest interest rate first. Once that credit card is gone, you take that $200 you were paying on it and add it to the next highest interest debt. Some people prefer the snowball method, where you pay off the smallest balance first for psychological wins. Either method works. The key is picking one and sticking with it. But here's what's more important than the method: not adding to your debt while you're paying it off. That means getting comfortable with the word no. No to impulse purchases. No to keeping up with friends who have different financial situations. No to lifestyle inflation. David, an accountant from Chicago, was paying off $70,000 in student loans. He made a rule: no new debt until the student loans were gone. It took him 4 years. 4 years of driving a beat-up car, living with roommates, and saying no to expensive vacations. But when those loans were finally paid off, he had something his friends didn't: freedom. Financial freedom to make choices based on what he wanted, not what he could afford in monthly payments. Here's a controversial statement. You should start investing in your 20s even if you're in debt. Even if you don't have a full emergency fund yet. Even if it feels too early. Why? Because time is the most powerful asset you have, and you're never getting these years back. Let's talk about retirement accounts first. If your employer offers a 401k match, that's free money. Let's say your employer matches up to 3% of your salary. If you're making $40,000 a year, that's $1,200 in free money. If you're not contributing enough to get the full match, you're literally leaving money on the table. But I can't afford to have money taken out of my paycheck, you might say. Here's the thing: you can't afford not to. That match is an immediate 100% return on your investment. You're not going to find that anywhere else. Beyond the 401k, consider opening a Roth IRA. This is money you invest after taxes, but it grows tax-free, and you can withdraw it tax-free in retirement. Now, what do you invest in? Here's where it gets simple. If you're in your 20s, you have decades before retirement. You can afford to take on more risk. Index funds are your best friend. These are funds that track the overall market. They're diversified, low cost, and historically, they've returned about 10% annually over the long term. You don't need to pick individual stocks. You don't need to time the market. You just need to consistently put money in and leave it alone. Emma, a nurse from Denver, started investing $200 a month into a target date retirement fund when she was 24. She set it up to automatically withdraw from her checking account and then forgot about it. She didn't check it constantly. She didn't panic when the market dropped. She just let it sit. 10 years later, at 34, she had over $35,000 in that account. Not because she was making six figures, not because she was a financial genius, just because she started early and stayed consistent. The biggest mistake people make with investing isn't picking the wrong stocks. It's not starting at all. You get a raise. Finally. You've been working hard and it's paying off. You're making $2,000 more a year. That's about $167 more per month after taxes. What do you do with it? Most people unconsciously increase their spending. They upgrade their apartment. They buy a nicer car. They eat out more often. Before they know it, that extra money is gone, and they're living paycheck to paycheck at a higher income level. This is lifestyle inflation, and it's the reason why people who make six figures can be just as broke as people who make 30,000. Here's the antidote. When you get a raise, save at least half of it before you increase your spending. If you get that $2,000 raise, increase your retirement contributions by $80 a month. Increase your savings by $80 a month. Now, you can enjoy the other $80 guilt-free. The key is making savings automatic. When the money never hits your checking account, you don't miss it. Rachel, a marketing manager from Portland, implemented this strategy religiously. Every time she got a raise or bonus, 50% went to savings or investments before she even saw it. Over 5 years, her salary increased from $45,000 to $70,000, but her lifestyle only reflected about half of that increase. She still lived comfortably, but she also had over $40,000 saved and invested. Her coworkers at the same salary level, most had less than $5,000 in savings. Managing money in your 20s isn't really about money, it's about habits. Habit 1. Automate everything. Automate your savings. Automate your investments. Automate your bill payments. Remove the decision-making from the process. When it's automatic, you can't forget, and you can't talk yourself out of it. Habit 2. Track your spending. You don't need a complicated budgeting app. You just need awareness. Once a week, look at where your money went. You'll be shocked at how much those small purchases add up. That daily coffee. Those impulse Amazon orders. Awareness is the first step to change. Habit 3. Delay gratification. When you want to buy something that's not in your budget, wait 48 hours. If you still want it after 2 days, and you can afford it without derailing your financial goals, buy it. Most of the time, you'll realize you didn't really want it that badly. Habit 4. Increase your income. Cutting expenses only gets you so far. The real wealth building happens when you increase your income. Learn new skills. Ask for raises. Start a side hustle. Your earning potential in your 20s is limitless if you're willing to invest in yourself. Habit 5. Surround yourself with financially minded people. Your peer group influences your behavior more than you realize. If all your friends spend every weekend at expensive bars and restaurants, you'll feel pressure to do the same. Find at least 1 or 2 friends who are also focused on building wealth. Let's bring this back to where we started. Your 20s are hard financially. They just are. You're building a life from scratch with limited resources. But here's what I want you to remember. Every dollar you save in your 20s is worth $5 in your 40s because of compound growth. Every habit you build now becomes automatic for the rest of your life. Every no you say to short-term pleasure is a yes to long-term freedom. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to follow every rule exactly. You just need to be intentional. You need to have a plan, and you need to start. Whether you're 22 or 29, whether you have debt or savings, whether you make $30,000 or $70,000, The principles are the same. Spend less than you earn, save consistently, invest for the future, and avoid lifestyle inflation. The person you'll be at 40 is being shaped by the decisions you make today. What kind of financial future do you want to build? Because it starts right now. Not when you make more money, not when you pay off your debt, not when life gets easier. It starts today. Your 20s are your financial foundation. Build it strong, build it smart, and build it with intention. Your future self will thank you. What's one financial habit you're committing to this week? Drop it in the comments. And if this video helped you, share it with someone in their 20s who needs to hear this. And don't forget to subscribe and like the video.